In this video, I'm going to describe the simplest way to search the LEPR-TraceDs database. We're going to log in the usual way to the database, and we're going to explore using the quick search by reference and the quick search by laboratory drop-down menus. They do exactly what they're described. So if I click on this drop-down menu, I'm going to get a list of experimental studies that are in the LEPR-TraceDs database, and let's just pick one. Let's pick this experimental study by A.G. and Walker. If we do so, the act of picking it goes off and retrieves all the experimental data from A.G. and Walker and displays them in a table. You can see that 24 rows of data are available here. 24 individual experiments are present in this reference. They're displayed in a data table, which is by default 15 references long. So if we want to go to the next part of the table, we use the next command, come over here, go to the previous part of the table. The data are displayed as the name of the experiment, the citation, the laboratory, the device, the container, and so on and so forth. And if you hover over the device header, you'll get a list of all of the possible vocabulary values for that particular designation. If you want more details of the experiments, then you click on the experiment name, and that brings up then a more detailed explanation of all the compositional characteristics. And they're displayed in a number of tabs. So first off is the experiment tab, which gives, for example, the bulk composition of the experimental starting product, rendered as both weight percent oxides in this case, as well as CIPW norm and characteristics like magnesium number and so on and so forth. And the other tabs display compositional information for the various phases. Liquid, for example, and olivine are present in this experiment. And you'll notice that there's liquid anhydrous, and there's liquid hydrous. They're all the same liquid. The actual composition that was reported in the paper is always reported on the liquid tab. If the experimentalists reported that composition normalized to an anhydrous composition, but then indicated that there was some water present by a total that didn't come to 100%, or simply an analysis of water, then the anhydrous and hydrous tabs will apply. So the anhydrous liquid tab will always display the liquid composition that sums to 100, even though the total is 97.6%. The hydrous tab will display the composition including the amount of a volatile phase that is present. That's the only distinction between the two, but liquid will always display the composition that the experimentalists reported in the data table. You can close the experiment detail menu or window and return back to the experimental list. If you would like to use any of the data reported from this experiment, then there are many ways to retrieve it. You can click individual columns or rows of this table. I'm holding down the command click as I do this, and that will select those 4 experiments, and then you can simply say download those 4 experiments as an Excel file, and they will come down to your local disk as an Excel file. We can clear all the selections that are present, or we can select all the experiments and then download all of the experiments to an Excel file. If you have a large number of experiments, this can take quite some time to construct the Excel file. You'll notice that there's download selected experiments as an Excel file and download converted experiments to an Excel file. Converted experiments the converted Excel file is useful if you have trace element information, because oftentimes the original trace element data was entered in a variety of units, sometimes oxides, sometimes weight percent, sometimes other units, in fact. A converted Excel file that contains trace element analyses will always report the trace elements in ppm and will always report the major elements in weight percent oxides. That's the simplest way to do a search in the LEPR-TraceDs database. And in the next video, we'll explore how to do searches using the more complex search options.